Today on the Christian Nerds Unite podcast, we're going to look at all the exciting Disney Plus announcements, and we'll get to all of that right after this. A new year is just around the corner, and I can't believe it. And it's time for me to review my goals from this year and to start setting goals for next year. If you're wanting to learn more about how to set realistic goals and make a plan to achieve them, check out the Goal Process 101 ebook. I lay out a simple, easy to understand and implement process for you, helping you celebrate what you've already accomplished and taking the steps needed to accomplish your goals next year. Download your copy at goalprocess101.com. And now, back to the show. On the show today, I want to look at all the latest Disney Plus announcements. But before we get to that, let's read some scripture. John 14, 1-3. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be there where I am. And Isaiah 55, 8-9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. You know, sometimes we can get disappointed, like, not getting the promotion we wanted, or have, a hard time in life, like a layoff or a serious illness like my wife has. Some more difficult than others, these issues. Over the past 2 years, depression has really engulfed a lot of people, affected more than ever. And it can be hard or even almost impossible for some to overcome this. I have a few close friends with diagnosed depression, and it saddens me that I can't really do anything for them other than simply be there and listen. Whether it's a small disappointment or a difficult time in your life or a major chemical or personal issue, I pray that the Lord heals your hurts, and I encourage you to read these scriptures, that God sees things differently than we do, and we may not see the whole situation. And the other scripture that Jesus encouraged his disciples to not let their hearts be troubled, meaning even those closest to Jesus while he was here on earth were troubled. So you're not alone. I ask, during this holiday season that's just starting to kick up, reach out to others. Find a good listener. Not a problem solver. Someone who can just listen. And I also want to encourage you to try one other thing that I have seen make a huge difference. Go out and serve others. At this time of year, there are many charities and churches that are looking for people who are willing to serve those less fortunate. It can often bring a whole new perspective to the troubles and disappointments that we're facing. And if you do, send me a message. Let me know how it goes. Tell me what you did and how it affected your perspective. Now, let me tell you about my disappointment this week. And that is the bulk of the show today. My disappointment. I want to talk about some of the biggest Disney Plus announcements this past Friday. Yeah, I know, first world problems. Let me be clear. I'm happy for some of the things that were announced this week. There's some really great things, but for the most part, very little was announced that we didn't already know, or what was announced wasn't really enough for us to know what it's even going to be. So I'm a little disappointed in Disney Plus Day that happened this last Friday. That being said, let's talk about some of the announcements. Some of these I'm going to go through really fast, and others I want to spend a little time on because I think they're actually a little more interesting. Start off, a big announcement was that Disney Plus launched Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings and released it onto the Disney Plus platform this past Friday. Now, that is great for people like me who are not able to go to the theater for, whatever reasons you might have right now. But so for me, I'm excited. I finally get to see this film. I've been a Shang-Chi fan from the 70s when I read the comics. I'm looking forward to this one. And then we have some Disney reboots and sequels. This is kind of a big list of different things that Disney is either just completed or just starting. Some of them are series, some of them are movies, but let's just kind of go through them. So they just dropped a new Disney Plus exclusive movie called Home Sweet Home Alone, which is a classic Home Alone story with a new cast and some minor differences. But it's just a Home Alone reboot with some new people in it. We're going to see a lot of remakes and some other sequels coming up. So we've got a remake of Cheaper by the Dozen that's going to be coming out. There's going to be a sequel to the classic Enchanted that was animated at the beginning and then became real life action movie. And so I'm not sure what Disenchanted is going to be, but that is going to be a thing. Then we've got a hybrid CG and live action Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. We're going to have a Hocus Pocus 2, a live action Pinocchio with Tom Hanks, a new Ice Age movie, a Proud Family series. I don't know how many people are familiar with the Proud Family, but it's a African American family cartoon on the Disney Channel back in the day. My daughters loved that show, so that could be interesting. There is a Baymax series that is coming up, and now this one did actually get a trailer. So most of these we just saw an image or just some people talking about them, but Baymax actually got a trailer. So if you're a Big Hero 6 fan, you will probably be interested in the Baymax series. We're going to get a Disney Pixar series about a baseball team. We are going to get a set of Zootopia shorts, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a real series or just a set of shorts that are disconnected. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. There is going to be a new Cars series coming. And if you like Larry the Cable Guy and Owen Wilson, they are scheduled to be the voice actors for that show. So that is pretty cool. And all of that is coming up in 2022. So Disney Plus is going to be dropping lots of things in 2022 that are not Star Wars and Marvel, which is what we talk about most of the time on this show. Speaking of other things that Disney is doing, they are going to have the Diary of a Wimpy Kid animated movie that's going to release next month in December of 2021. My youngest daughter, loves those books. She has, I think, all of them, has read all of them. She just absolutely loves them, has seen all the movies. So she may be interested in this animated movie. Also, they're going to be releasing another one. Roderick Rules is going to come out in 2023. So if you're a Diary of a Wimpy Kid fan, you can look forward to both of those. Now, this is something I am actually really excited about. However, I already knew about it. It's not a huge announcement, but we did actually get to see a clip. So that's cool. Starting Thanksgiving Day, we get to see Peter Jackson's The Beatles Get Back. It's a 3-part docu-series kind of show, going to be on Disney Plus. And yes, that Peter Jackson of the Lord of the Rings fame. And it looks like from the clips, it's going to look good. It's going to sound good. And my understanding is this is all footage that has been in storage for many, many years that is finally going to see the light of day. So, we've seen clips or we've seen movies made from this same time period before, but this is going to be all new footage, is my understanding, that we haven't seen before. So I'm excited about that. I'm a huge Beatles fan. I think that is going to be an interesting series. At least I really hope it will be. We did see a nice little video. You need to check this out. There was a short video from Warwick Davis talking to other actors from his upcoming Willow series. It's not a teaser. It's not a trailer. Just be aware. But you need to watch this. It is hysterical. Just watching Warwick Davis talk to his new acting friends, his co-stars. It is one of the funniest things I've seen all week. Definitely worth your time. Go find it. It is out there. It is just look up Warwick Davis, Willow interviewing other actors or something like that. You will find this. It's great. One thing that just showed up on Disney Plus this Friday, and it is really good, actually. It's a short documentary. It's about 20-25 minutes. A short documentary for Star Wars fans called Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. I really enjoyed this little documentary. It's not super long. It's not super in-depth, but it tells some of the history of Boba Fett all the way back to 1978 when Boba Fett first arrived on the scene. And some of you are like, well, that's not right because Boba Fett didn't show up until Empire Strikes Back. Well, right after Star Wars, just a year later, George Lucas was already working on the next film, already getting things ready, and they had created this new character. And this new character would eventually morph into Boba Fett. So it's kind of an interesting progression. Definitely check out that documentary. It's worth the watch. So as you can tell, Disney is leaning hard into nostalgia and known properties. They are not trying to reinvent the wheel. They are not coming up with original stuff, although there will be original episodes of all those things, but they're definitely going to things that you might, if you're older like me, you might enjoy watching with your kids or your grandkids because you watched them before. And so definitely leaning into the nostalgia. So be aware that is definitely where Disney Plus is going in the near future. Now, the bulk of the remaining announcements were all from Marvel. And this is where most of the posts, and they did all this on Twitter. Most of the posts were on Twitter, and they tons and tons of things listed for Marvel. There is a short little, it's about a 15-minute video. I believe it's called Marvel 2021, Marvel Studios 2021. It's definitely worth watching. But if you don't want to just watch a recap of a bunch of things you've already seen, meaning snippets from the previous movies, skip to about 7 minutes and 30 seconds because the first half of this video is just reminiscing about what happened from the first 3 phases of Marvel, and then the remainder of the video are some trailers and first looks of some upcoming series, and those look really good. So let's start with there is a new Hawkeye trailer. I am super stoked about Hawkeye. I was always excited about this show because I'm a big Hawkeye fan. Have been since the mid 80s at least, if not the 70s. I don't remember exactly when I realized Hawkeye was cool or when I decided he was. But this is a character that's been around since the 60s. He technically is an early Avenger, but not one of the first Avengers, if you're familiar with the Marvel Comics series, and technically was a bad guy at first. So the MCU has a little bit different take on Clint Barton, but we're going to see more of him in this new Hawkeye series. The new trailer looks great. We get to see, it might not be a trailer. That may be the wrong word to use. It's more like a snippet from the film, almost a scene, but I don't think they quite show us everything. And Hawkeye is releasing in just a little over a week on November 24th. And so that is going to be a Wednesday release. The information that I'm reading is they are going to release 2 episodes that day. And then there will be 5 more weeks of Hawkeye. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great show. Next, we see in this little video 3 first looks. We get to see Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Ms. Marvel. Now, let's kind of talk about these real quick. The first one is Moon Knight, and it looks really, really good. It does appear from just, watching this first look, and it's not super clear. We don't get a great shot of Mark Spector in the costume, but we do get some Oscar Isaac as Mark Spector. We get that personality. And speaking of personalities, it does look like they're going to lean hard into the multiple personality or the dissociative identity disorder that he has. Because a couple of scenes, it looks like he is all of a sudden standing in the middle of 4 or 5 guys that are laying on the ground and obviously have been beat up, like he doesn't know what just happened. So I'm feeling like we're going to get a bit of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of feel from Moon Knight. That's an interesting take. The comics have kind of leaned toward that some from time to time, sometimes more, sometimes less. But I think they are going to lean pretty hard into the idea that he does have dissociative identity disorder. And when he switches, he may not remember what happened. We're definitely going to see some of the, Egyptian mythology kind of things coming into play. I think it's going to be a really, really good series. A lot of people compare Moon Knight to Batman, and I can see some of the comparisons. However, with the multiple identities and especially if they lean into the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of idea, we're going to see such a divergence from who Batman is that I think it's going to be very, very clear. This is not just Marvel's version of Batman. This is a different superhero. Next, we have She-Hulk. The short clip looks good. We only briefly see her in a She-Hulk form, and we don't even get a full shot. Once again, like Moon Knight, we don't get a full shot of Moon Knight in costume. We don't get a full shot of She-Hulk as She-Hulk. And I'm concerned. Here's why. The CGI in that shot doesn't look great. It looks okay. It looks acceptable. And my hope is that is not final. That's not final CGI. That is early CGI, and they just wanted to get something out. It doesn't look horrible, but it just doesn't look up to Marvel standards. And so I'm hopeful we will see something better there. They did confirm in this little first look that we will see Bruce Banner. We will see the Professor Hulk kind of person. And it looks like we'll also see actual Bruce Banner. So it's a little unclear as he has the ability to change at will now. And if that's the case, that could be something interesting. Now, this is supposed to be a law comedy. So I am expecting a lot of cameos. I am hopeful that we get some really good cameos. The obvious one and the super hope is that we're going to see Charlie Cox show up as Matt Murdock, Daredevil, and that he is, an attorney that she at least runs into at some point, just to say he exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That would be a fun little Easter egg to drop in there. So I think that probably, if Charlie Cox is ever going to come to the MCU, I think that's where we're going to see him. We're just going to see him just show up briefly, and then later on we'll see a proper introduction. We are expecting to see Abomination show up. So we'll see him come. We have just recently seen him in Shang-Chi, and it looks like it's likely we're going to see him in She-Hulk as well. What about Deadpool? That could be a fun little cameo, drop him in, get Ryan Reynolds on the set for a couple of hours to sit in the costume and let her defend him against something, because that's kind of the point of She-Hulk. She's not just a normal lawyer. She is the lawyer for superheroes or supervillains. And so I'm excited about this. I don't know that I'm disappointed that it's supposed to be a comedy, but I'm a little confused. How far are they going to lean into the comedy of this? I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I am excited about the show. I do hope the CGI looks better, and that we get to see a little more there. She-Hulk has a really, really big history in the Marvel Comics universe. So if you haven't checked out She-Hulk before, check it out. Get Marvel Unlimited or something and read up on who She-Hulk is. Because I get people just commenting every once in a while in some of the Facebook groups that I help run, talking about, why are they doing a She-Hulk? They don't need to, reboot the Hulk as a woman, or, why do they have to gender switch? Well, She-Hulk has been a character for years, decades, literally decades. Next is Ms. Marvel, who actually is a fairly new character. This is not Miss Marvel, and this is not the Ms. Marvel of the 80s, Carol Danvers, because Carol Danvers, if you're not familiar with that whole story, she was Ms. Marvel and eventually became Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, and with a slight name change and a slight power boost. She's got some weird things going on there. This will be the more recent Ms. Marvel, who is a Pakistani Muslim teen girl and who suddenly gets powers. Now, one thing we really don't see any CGI in this clip that they show, this first look. And there was an earlier first look as well, and I don't remember seeing any of her powers there either. There is kind of one little shot where it looks like some kind of cosmic ray or something is hitting her. So where she gets her powers from is a little unclear in the MCU. But it does look like it might be a little different than it was in the comics. The other thing is, what exactly are her superhero powers going to be? In the comics, she could kind of turn her arms into really big fists, almost like Mr. Fantastic could just reshape himself like rubber. But I'm not sure if they're going to go that way. That may be a little too cartoony for Marvel at the MCU. If it is, I'm not sure what they're going to do with her as far as powers go. they do kind of hint that she can fly. That's the one thing that I think the trailer pretty solidly confirms, that she will be able to fly. And why has she become Ms. Marvel? If you're not familiar with this character, she is enamored with Carol Danvers, with Captain Marvel. She is, that is her idol and who she wants to be when she grows up. So this is a character that could fit really well into the Young Avengers if Marvel decides to go there. And I'm hopeful that they will. They are starting to build the team. Now, the rest of these are just kind of quick announcements that Marvel did. We don't really get any bulk of information from any of them. We did get a confirmation there will be a What If season 2. Most people expected that, especially with the good reviews that the first season got, and because it's such a weird little quirky thing, it wouldn't be hard to put together a season 2. Next, I Am Groot series is going to be released. We don't have a release date. Oh, speaking of What If season 2, we also don't have a release date. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I Am Groot is going to be some kind of CGI realistic animation. I'm not quite sure exactly what this is going to be. But it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a series. Once again, no release date. There is supposed to be a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Everybody's saying it's going to come out this December. Well, it needs to if it's going to be a holiday special. Otherwise, it's not going to come out till December 2022. So I'm not sure what's happening there. I figured it would already be out, but maybe we'll see it by December 1. Or whatever the first Monday in December, or the first Wednesday, or the first Friday, because those are kind of the times where Disney Plus has been dropping things. Next is something new that they did announce, but we have very, very little information. Echo. Echo is going to be a new series. It will be a spin-off series from the upcoming Hawkeye series. Echo is a bad guy, and now since she's getting her own series, is she going to be kind of an anti-hero? Well, it's a little unclear. This is, in the comics, she is the adopted daughter of the Kingpin, so this would give us an opportunity to bring in the Kingpin from the Netflix Marvel universe. That would be great. He did an amazing job. So she is a deaf Native American superhero, fairly new. She has photographic reflexes. So think Taskmaster in the comics. Taskmaster in the most recent Black Widow movie was a little different, and they kind of played with that a little too much. So I would think so with the photographic reflexes, if they go there, I would expect that to be more like Taskmaster from the comic books. Now, when is that going to be released? Like I said, we're not getting release dates on any of this, but with Echo just being released now and it being a live action, I'm not expecting it before 2023. If it came out late 2022, I wouldn't be completely surprised. Put it in a slot where it releases around Thanksgiving, like Hawkeye. But Hawkeye was announced almost 2 years prior to it being released. Of course, COVID got in there and really messed things up, so I'm not sure. Timelines for Disney are really messed up because of COVID. We're not sure exactly how long it takes them to produce these things now. But I'm guessing 2023. That's my prediction. I will probably be wrong. Also announced, not surprising, Loki Season 2. I think we all knew that was going to happen. I'm excited about that. I look forward to it. We were kind of left on a bit of a cliffhanger for season 1. So I would expect there to be some good carryover there. Next, this one completely caught me by surprise. If you had said, okay, Marvel is going to launch X-Men, I would have been like, yeah, Marvel Cinematic Universe X-Men. If you'd have told me, hey, what they're going to do is they're going to go back to 1997 and they're going to pick up the cartoon from when it ended, I'd have been like, what? No, they're not doing that. There's no way they do that. They are totally doing that. So once again, X-Men 97 is going to pick right up where the X-Men cartoon from the 90s ended. So a lot of the voice cast is supposed to be coming back, the majority of the voice cast. So that could be a great thing. There are hints that the imagery will be similar. I don't know how similar. Will they just update the technology a little bit and make it cleaner? But that art style is very specific. And if they're going to call it X-Men 97 and it's going to be the next season of the 90s X-Men cartoon, I would hate to see them just completely ignore the original art style. Next is another animated series, Spider-Man Freshman Year. Now, this animated series from we don't really get a first look. We don't even get, we just get kind of an image, and then we get kind of a paper tear, and then we see a picture of Peter Parker who looks suspiciously like the 1960s comic books version of Spider-Man Peter Parker. So I think we're going to see that kind of 2D animation feel of the old comics. This is a log line that's been reported. The animated series follows Peter Parker on his way to becoming Spider-Man in the MCU with a journey unlike we've ever seen and a style that celebrates the character's early comic book roots. So, what does that mean? A couple of things are wound into that. Okay, so characters' early comic book roots, and a style that celebrates that. So that kind of confirms my comment that I think we're going to see that 2D animation. It's going to feel more like the 1960s comic book version of Peter Parker. However, this line, with a journey unlike we've ever seen, could mean we're going to get a new origin story for Peter Parker. And since it's freshman year and everybody is saying this is going to be a how Peter Parker became Spider-Man story. That's what this series is going to be. That doesn't surprise me. It makes sense. It's a good choice, especially if they're going to do this style, especially if they're going to do animation, because the MCU has never done that. Now, it also specifically says animated series follows Peter Parker on his way to becoming Spider-Man in the MCU. And this is official Marvel release text. Okay, so what that means is this is going to be the canon origin story for Peter Parker MCU Spider-Man. You heard that right. It's going to be canon. So these animated shows, if they stick with it, they're going to make some of these animated shows canon to the MCU. Does that mean X-Men 97 is going to be canon to the MCU? I don't know how that's going to all work, but this one is supposed to be canon. Now, a big question is, how exactly is Marvel going to do an animated Spider-Man show if, number one, Tom Holland's contract is ending, and as of right now has not been renewed, and Sony's contract with Marvel is ending and has not been renewed to continue on for further films. So what does that mean? Now, this is some information I found. Back in 2014, when this contract was all signed and all the license agreements were written up. And this was some of the information that was revealed in that leaked contract, that Sony rights now encompass 3 areas. Just these 3 areas. Listen close. Live action and animated movies. So any live action movie, any animated movie, Sony has to be involved. 2, live action television series. So generally that is going to include any live action streaming series as well. So that means we can't see Spider-Man show up on She-Hulk without getting Sony involved. Number 3, this is the third part, and this is the key. Sony has rights to animated series with episodes longer than 44 minutes. Now, why is that number important? 44 minutes is the proper show length for a 1-hour program with commercials for TV. Now, we're talking about streaming. So as long as the episodes are under 44 minutes, Marvel can do it without Sony. How simple is that? Now, with that in mind, expect them to be in the neighborhood of 22 minutes-ish if they're going to stick with the half hour with commercials time frame. Or they could easily make them, honestly, 30-minute episodes, or push them a little bit to 40-minute episodes. As long as they don't cross that 44-minute mark, then Sony has no rights to the animated shows. So that is how this is happening. And I think that is fascinating. Once again, this isn't really the announcement that happened but because it was announced, I've found out all this information, which I think is just insanely interesting. But the question is going to be, who will be the voice? And it has not been released. Will we see Tom Holland? Now that's a problem, because Tom Holland, when he signs a contract as Spider-Man, he has been signing it with Sony. So this would be a separate contract if Tom Holland came in to voice Spider-Man. Keep in mind, Tom Holland is a very popular actor right now. Everyone wants a piece of him. Everyone wants him in their film. And, he may not be available, and he's interested in breaking out and doing other projects. So he may not be interested. He wasn't in the What If series. So was that contractual, or was that because Tom Holland doesn't want to do voice work on a cartoon? It's unclear. However, Hudson Thames, who was the voice of Spider-Man in the What If series, could be available. He could come in and do this animated series. That would be great. It's also possible they bring in somebody completely new, since he is supposed to be a much younger Spider-Man. I don't know where we'll go with that, but I am going to keep my eyes open. Next, these are just quick, these are ones we already knew about, but they just announced them again. I don't know why they keep announcing them without giving us more information. Ironheart Armor Wars Secret Invasion. Great. Then we have 2 brand new things that were announced. These are interesting and weird. Number 1 is Marvel Zombies. Apparently, the What If episode of Marvel Zombies was so popular, they have decided to make a Marvel Zombies series. It is unclear what the series is going to cover. I don't know if we're going to just retcon the whole What If thing, and this is just going to be its own little animal, or if we're going to see the story before What If, or if we're going to see what happens after What If. in as a little bit of a spoiler warning, in the What If episode, it appears that our heroes were going to be able to basically disinfect the entire world and be done pretty quickly after they had, they got what they needed, and it should all be over really quick. Obviously that could be written differently, and they could find out it doesn't work, or it doesn't work as well as they hoped, or they have to do a whole lot more to make it work. Tons of places they could go with that. I think more interesting would be to go back to the origins of why the zombie apocalypse started in this Marvel universe. So that's going to be great. If you're a zombie fan, I think you'll really like it. I'm not a huge zombie fan, but I'm such a huge Marvel fan. I'm always interested. The other show this is the super announcement, is that Agatha Harkness, we've heard this rumor for a while that there might be an Agatha Harkness show. And the rumor, honestly, I've never heard the rumor from anybody reliable. What I mean by that, let me say this. Let me be clear. There are places that I feel like are not reliable sources. They say things and they're just not reliable. They're not getting it from reliable people, or they're just plain making it up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about places like Screen Rant saying things like, there's no way they picked this kind of actress, an actress this good, to play this one little part for this one little show and not carry it out further. So that's the rumor I'm talking about. It not reliable in that I don't think anybody knew this was going to happen. I think everybody really, really hoped it would, and thought that the actress is just so good in the part that there's no reason they shouldn't. And they have decided to go that way. Agatha, House of Harkness. So what is House of Harkness going to be? We don't have any more information than that. My guess is we are going to see maybe some backstory. With the way Wanda left it, I don't see us moving forward into the future, but I guess we could if Wanda somehow or reason decides to release her, or if something that happens in the multiverse of madness basically breaks the hex that is on her so that she can come back to herself. I'm not sure where this one's going to go, but my guess is we're probably going to explore more of her backstory, and I think that could be really, really interesting. The reason being is her backstory is substantially different than it is in the comics. So much so that it's almost a different character. I want to know more about her, and I want to know more about her history as far as the MCU goes. So I'm really excited about that. I know I kind of played off that, I wasn't excited about Disney Plus Day because, and that there is some truth there. I wasn't super excited about Disney Plus Day because there weren't a lot of big announcements, and the big announcements they gave us, they didn't give us much information, and the shows they gave us teasers for, the teasers weren't long enough to really get much out of them. And all the other shows, we've known about them. We've known about them for a year or more, most of these. So that's why I say I was a little disappointed, but I think there's some really good stuff going on here. Marvel is going to have tons and tons of action over the next couple of years. Now, all that said, none of those have release dates. None. So when are they going to come out? I don't know. I'm just looking at this list. Some of them have just been announced. Echo, Agatha, House of Harkness. Those are live action. Those are going to take time to shoot. probably 2023 at the earliest. A lot of them are animated. So we've got Spider-Man Freshman Year, X-Men 97, I Am Groot, let's see, Marvel Zombies. These are all animated shows. And if last year has any bearing at all, they announced the Star Wars Bad Batch in December, and we had the show by May 4th. So if it's animated, Disney could pump it out really, really fast if they want to. They have the skills, they have the staff, totally doable. Will they? I don't know. But, some of these animated series definitely could come out in 2022. My guess is X-Men is probably 2023. Loki series season 2, I don't know. If it hasn't started shooting yet, then we're talking 2023 probably. So I'm not quite sure about all of that. There was one other thing, and I forgot to mention it earlier. I meant to. There is an Obi-Wan Kenobi show teaser of sorts. It's basically Ewan McGregor sitting on a stool doing an interview. That's pretty much all it is. I was disappointed that we didn't get any more good information about the Book of Boba Fett that is coming out. There are other things on the horizon for Star Wars that we just didn't get any new information about for Disney Plus Day, and I'm disappointed in those. Obviously, we didn't get any film news, but for some people who were watching this year would like, hey, why do we not get all this other stuff that we got last year? Well, because last year they combined two events. Because of COVID, they combined the Investor Day with Disney Plus Day and made it one big event. So they announced movies, cinema, they announced everything. Disney Plus, they announced parks, they announced everything all in one day. This year we had Investor Day back in July, I believe, June or July, and they announced a lot of things then. And this is purely Disney Plus Day. That's all this is. And if you're not a subscriber to Disney Plus, I recommend it. Some people, don't want to spend their money on Disney. I totally get it. I respect that. I like Disney. I think they are producing some really great content. They also, produce some not so great content. But that almost every production house does that. So if you're going to subscribe to someplace, I like Disney Plus. Well, that's all that I have for you today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, click all those buttons, click the bell, or whatever's down there. Just click all those buttons. And you can find all of our social links, our online store, and links to our YouTube channel at ChristianNerdsUnite.com. And while you're there, click on the support tab. We would love to have you as a Patreon. But before I go, I do want to leave you with this blessing from John 14:27. These are the words of Jesus. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. We'll see you next week. Blessings.